Alright, so I think I finally understand all of these new Blackwood changes. Man, it's like so much changes every patch, and it takes me so long to finally be pretty optimized, but I think I've finally nailed it.
Oh shit, here we go again.
As always, a new quarterly patch brings upon new gameplay opportunities in ESO. Likewise, it also means that there are new opportunities to make gold, whether those opportunities may be ones that you wish to actively seek out, or ones that you may find happen passively, just from playing the game the way you prefer. In this video, I'm going to briefly go over some new changes and additions that are taking place in ESO's newest DLC, Waking Flame, and specifically how knowing about these changes can aid you in your conquest to becoming the Jeff Bezos of ESO. You can check out a comprehensive written guide that complements this video over on my website, tamrieltradesecrets.com. And feel free to join my Discord server for more 5000 IQ ESO trading and gold earning discussions. The kinds of items that I'll be showcasing in this video fall into one of two categories. They're either 1. Completely new to the game, seeing as they will have just been added in Update 31, or 2. They've been in the game for a while now, but they've experienced a change or an update or a change in the meta has occurred that has made them more desirable to players in this new patch. Either way, I think it's fair to say that these items are going to experience an increase in demand. Thus, that makes them perfect candidates for farming to sell, or even flipping by buying these items off of someone that's not yet aware of the fact that they're going to be worth more in the Elder Scrolls Online Waking Flame. Alright, let's get into it. Selling motifs is almost always a very reliable means to make gold, especially if you're selling motifs from newer content. As a newer or a less experienced trader, it's selling things like motifs that will help you get on your feet and earn you enough gold to start getting into some of the more sweatier trading practices that I cover on this channel. The Waking Flame DLC will introduce 3 new motifs that look like they'd be great sellers. Hey man, ERP sells, okay? Just like some of the other trial motifs, the Souls on motif pages can be obtained from the weekly trial reward coffers from the weekly trial quest that are rewarded upon completing the Rockgrove trial. You can pick up the weekly trial quest from this gamer inside the Rockgrove trial and hand in the completed quest at the very end of the trial. Doesn't matter whether or not you run Rockgrove on the normal or the veteran difficulty. So long as your character is able to receive a weekly trial coffer upon completing the trial's quest, you will be eligible for a chance to get a Souls on motif from it. The Blackfin motif pages can be acquired by completing daily delve quests in Leowyn. You can pick up these quests from Detum Jaws, located a few steps away from the Leowyn Way Shrine. This is the first time that the devs have had it so that the daily world boss and the daily delve quests yield different motifs as a reward for completing them. Do recall that the Ivory Brigade motifs drop from the Leowyn world boss dailies. I can't say that I'm a big daily delve quest enjoyer, but if these motifs are going to be dropping from the daily delve rewards coffers exclusively, then I guess I don't have much of a choice, eh? I mean, this isn't exactly what I'd consider exhilarating gameplay, but go off. If you want to cosplay as a sexy Jamora for Halloween, then you better head on over to the Cauldron, one of the dungeons that came out earlier this year. If you complete the Cauldron on the veteran difficulty, you have a chance at receiving a Waking Flame motif from it. And if you complete it on the veteran hard mode difficulty, then you're guaranteed a motif. As is the case with all motifs that show off a little skin, the Waking Flame style is worth quite a lot of gold, to no one's surprise. I mean, I understand why. It allows you to show off all your trial skins that you worked so hard for, right? Like, I can't think of any other reason why it would sell well. The following sets have been changed in a manner that makes them more viable across a variety of content, or they've become more viable in content in light of changes that were made in Update 31. As always, whenever a set becomes viable, it experiences an increase in demand as more people shift towards utilizing the new and better version of an old set. This means that you may want to consider selling the following items on account of their newfound demand. Like the set Powerful Ass, Meritorious Service will now be able to be applied to all members of the group more consistently now that it operates as a Smart Proc set. What this means is that instead of having to run all over the place and excessively cast a support skill to be able to ensure that all of your group mates have the buff, supports that wear this set can now simply cast it twice, and all members of the group that are within range will receive the buff. The buff will go to groupmates that don't already have the buff active, instead of refreshing the buff on groupmates that already have the buff. Meritorious Service is already a pretty decent set to consider using as a support that plays with a ball group in PvP, and now that it can proc more consistently, this will result in better buff up times for everyone in the group, and likewise start to be a more viable support set option. You may want to consider selling this set in Impenetrable and Sturdy, as those two traits are ideal for supports in PvP. You can obtain this set from the Telvar gear vendors in the Imperial City sewer base. Stygian, which can be obtained from Cold Harbor, now applies hybrid stats instead of exclusively magica ones. The 4-piece bonus is now offensive penetration instead of maximum magicka, and the 5-piece bonus is essentially the same, it just requires that you're in combat to proc. This new hybridity has made it a more viable option for all builds, particularly stamina ones that may be looking to bomb or gank, and especially Nightblades, seeing as they have a class skill that gives them easy access to invisibility. In theory, even before the patch dropped, I was making a fair amount of bank buying up cheaply priced Stygian jewels to then sell for upwards of 10 times the amount of gold that I paid for them. Now that the patch has dropped, I've still been able to sell them fairly reliably. In light of the recent buff to Templar spell damage, the light armor set War Maiden, which drops in Vardenfell, has become a very solid option for Magicka Templar PvE DPS builds. A content creator by the name of Just a Red Sofa, who has posted some pretty impressive parses, stated that using Basai and War Maiden was only 1k DPS behind using Basai and Sororia when they parsed. Therefore, they recommend using War Maiden with Basai in fights where you have to move around, and likewise can't build Sororia stacks. In light of its newfound popularity, and because people don't often do content in Vardenfell as much as they do in the newer DLC zones, War Maiden can sell for more than usual now, especially in the Divines trait. Although I've found that selling Impenetrable gear has also been reliable because it's a solid PvP set as well, especially for those looking to PvP in the new No CP, No Proc campaign that came out this patch. Of course, Inferno staves and daggers will also sell well. A handful of new sets have been added as possible drops when opening your rewards of the worthy boxes that you get every time you receive 10k AP. Whether that's from zerging down solo players in Cyrodiil or IC, or getting farmed by pre-mades and high MMR BGs because your dumbass solo queued into the group queue. As always, when it comes to selling PvP sets, you'll find that set pieces in Impen sell most reliably and for the most amount of gold, and front bar weapons and the sharpened trait are pretty sought after as well. As soon as the Natch Potes for Waking Flame dropped, people kinda lost their shit over this set. Dark Convergence looks like a great option for a meme build, or a build that focuses around busting Zergs, like a Necro that synergy bombs with Graveyard. At the same time, I could also see Zergs wearing this set and spamming a skill like Wall of Elements or something to absolutely destroy solo players and small groups of players. You hate to see it. But hey, at least you can cash in and make some gold from selling this set. One of my mods sold a gold sharpened mace of Dark Convergence for over 2 mil on the first day that the set dropped. Mind you, prices will of course differ across servers and they will decline sharply in price as the market gets saturated, but this just goes to show how desirable the set is. I'm all for PvPers having new ways to make gold. There's been a fair amount of chatter about this set as an option for Warden PvP builds. Theory crafters are most interested in the 5-piece effect, and particularly the aspect of it that deals a percent of their opponent's total physical and spell resistance as frost damage. This means that it would actually be in your best interest to not breach your opponent, since breach lowers your opponent's resistances. By not having to use breach, you will free up a slot on your skill bar to be able to slot something else that can help you survive or deal even more damage. And if your class already didn't have an easy means to breach your opponent, like say through a class skill, then that's all the more reason to consider this set. Because Hrothgar's is a heavy armor set, it'll likely be preferred on the front bar, also known as the weapons and jewels. This set has also generated a lot of buzz within the PvP community, as it appears to be an ideal set to counter Wardens, since Wardens have a passive built-in purge from their Netch skill, as well as an ideal set for bombing on a stamina character. For those of you who may have never experienced the pleasure, or displeasure I suppose, depending on who's bombing and who's being bombed, the term bombing in PvP refers to the act of dishing out a whole bunch of damage to a group all at once. It's kind of like an AoE gank. Oftentimes, sets like Vicious Death and skills like Proxy Detonation are used for more AoE damage, and the exploding visual effects really add to the whole bombing effect. Bomb builds are great counters to Zergs and ball groups because of the insane amount of AoE damage that they can dish out. Typically, the bombing playstyle has been exclusive to Magicka builds, that is, until this set came out. The way the bomb, so to speak, goes off with this set is if a person infected with the plague effect purges this effect too soon after they've received it, resulting in a vicious explosion of disease damage, with the gamer that purged it being the epicenter. The bomb does more damage with the more people that it hits, making it an especially punishing proc if the enemy is part of a large group. This set appears to be another great counter to ball groups that are difficult to lock down and bleed out, as the devs put it. Now, supports that are used to playing as purge bots for their group will have to put their 2 brain cells to use to ensure that they're being smart with their purges instead of just carrying out their very difficult job of spamming their purge key all the damn time. I'm allowed to make fun of PvP healers, okay? I am one. But in all seriousness, it would not surprise me if this set gets reworked, seeing as how it affects wardens in particular, who have a passive purge integrated into their major buff skill, which really doesn't seem reasonable at all. And content creators have expressed their disapproval of what they believe to be the nullification of a defense skill, purge. A rework could definitely influence prices, so be mindful of that. As per usual, this new patch will bring in a handful of new furnishings and add a handful of old furnishings to a grand folio that will cost 700 RIT vouchers to purchase. The following 7 furnishing plans are new and available for purchase in Update 30. Seeing as these items are new, it may be worthwhile to spend some of your RIT vouchers on these plans to either sell the plans or get right to crafting the new furnishings themselves to then sell on the market. For reference, I've been able to buy these plans worth 125 vouchers to then sell for around 200k on PCNA these past few weeks, which is a pretty solid voucher to gold ratio if you ask me. These 7 plans will be available for the reduced price of 100 RIT vouchers. And these Western Skyrim plans are being bundled and added to a singular folio. You won't be able to purchase the plans individually anymore. Instead, you'll have to buy the entire folio. It is also now possible to purchase a blue Markarth furnishing folio for 30 RIT vouchers. Opening it grants you a blue furnishing plan with a very small chance at receiving a purple furnishing plan instead. A lot of the furnishings from Markarth are very lovely, so your chances at receiving a valuable furnishing plan are fairly high. 21 new structural furnishings have been added to the Leowen reward coffers that you obtain from completing a daily delve or a daily world boss quest. If you are around from Markarth, you surely know that doing Markarth dailies and selling the structural plans that you got from them was a great way to make gold, and in fact it still is, although you don't get nearly as much gold from those plans in light of market saturation and all of that. The addition of these new Leowen furnishing plans is no different. If you haven't already been doing Leowen dailies, now would be a great time to do so. Besides selling the Ivory Brigade clasps and the motifs that drop from them, you can now sell your furnishing plans, making these dailies the most profitable ones to date. Even once the prices for these plans settle, they'll still absolutely be worth farming if you plan on doing dailies anyways. Speaking of Brigade clasps, since there's been a substantial amount of people that are interested in buying these neat castle furnishing plans to roleplay as the princesses that they've always dreamed of being, and since these furnishings require clasps in order to be crafted, there's been a much greater demand for Ivory Brigade clasps. This has brought up an opportunity to charge a little more per clasp than you usually would, although ultimately you'll be at the mercy of your market. If a majority of the market does not want to charge more per clasp and are perfectly happy continuing to charge the going price for their clasps despite there being a greater demand for them, then there may not be much of a change in price at all, although it will be interesting to see how it goes across all servers. On PCNA, the price of clasps about doubled overnight when Waking Flame went live. In light of all these new furnishings and some pretty sweet looking houses that are due to drop this chapter, it's also safe to say that furnishing materials like heartwood, decorative wax, and mundane rune are going to be in demand. And you know what that typically means when it comes to pricing. And those are about all the noteworthy changes that I figured I'd go over given the fact that they'll more than likely be relevant to the notion of making gold in ESO. If I find that I missed anything, or if anything noteworthy comes up, I'll be sure to post any updates on my latest What's Hot post over on my website. I hope that what I've discussed has given you a clearer idea on how you can make use of the new items that have come with this patch to earn some gold, as well as how you can make gold from selling some older sets that have been around for a while now. If you liked the video, feel free to in-cap that subscribe button for more Omega Brain ESO gold guides, and I'll see you guys in the next video, or on Discord, or PCNA. Cheers!